The NHL season starts tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday. And one of the biggest topics of conversation in and around opening night, Julian, the NHL's decision to ban the use of players using pride tape. So, players in the past, look, we talked about this in the summer, and it certainly came to light with the Stalls and Reimer and Provorov. Handful of players didn't want to wear pride themed jerseys last year. I think that topic we've discussed, we've dissected, but now there's a new offshoot to that. Something we didn't see coming until the last few days. And full credit where credit is due. Let's first give some credit to Ryan Clark, our old pal at used to work with us at the Athletic. Ryan is over at ESPN. He sought some clarity on some of these special initiative stuffs, decisions by the NHL. What can players wear? What can't they wear? What can teams do? So there was some ambiguity there. Ryan Clark last week got some answers. We got a little bit more clarity on this. But then outsports.com, Monday evening, Julian, with what I'm going to go ahead and call it a bombshell report that said the NHL is not going to allow players to use pride themed tape. So think about the rainbow colored tape you see players have on their sticks. Sometimes it's on the blade, sometimes it's up near the top, near the knob, but it's very visible. Now they're not allowed to do that. And boy, oh boy, I got to tell you, this feels like a gigantic step backwards is what it feels like.
I agree. At the end of the day, they're just whether it's the jerseys or whether it's tape, these are just really small gestures that teams were able to do just to show that they could be inclusive and welcoming of a specific community. And these things occur during warm-ups, when fans are filing into arenas, just getting themselves settled. There are the few fans who, they run up to the glass,
Yeah.
just at the lower bowl, and they want to see their favorite players from up close. This is something that you don't really see during an actual broadcast. It's not something that, unless you were in the arena, you would think about. But all of a sudden, it turned into this massive thing because one player said, because of their beliefs, they didn't want to wear it. And then another player felt emboldened, and then more and more players. And I know we've said a lot that, 7 players, because of those 7 players, this is why this is happening. Who knows? It could be more than those 7 players who might have felt differently. And we don't truly know what's gone on behind the scenes with certain teams and how they've handled that. But the fact that it's gone to this point, I have to give my head a shake here because I feel it's taken away from, players who actively want to do good in support of the LGBTQ IA community or other bigger stories, right? We're the Athletic Hockey Show. The
Yeah.
leading topic should be Connor Bedard versus Sidney Crosby. It is not the leading topic. We have to address some of the reactions over hockey tape being banned. And at the end of the day, specifically with this news story, and stick taps to outsports.com for getting this, it's over tape, like hockey tape. It's rainbow colored tape. And the fact that we're at this point where guys can't have it on their sticks, I think it's just a ridiculous thing to focus over. It's just a small gesture, and I don't know. I'm a bit beside myself and disappointed at the fact that the NHL has chosen this stance.
Yeah. And I think so much of social justice causes are rooted in allyship. Okay. It's rooted in allyship. By doing this, Julian, I think the NHL has now put a cloak of invisibility over the allies. How are fans supposed to know who are the allies? How do you and the two, I can't help, there's 2 guys that come to mind to me that I think last year did so much, and that's James Van Riemsdyk and Scott Laughton in Philadelphia.
Same guys I was thinking of.
Yeah, and if you remember, Julian, and I think rightfully so, a lot of the oxygen went towards Ivan Provorov. He was like the first guy. I'm not wearing the jersey, cited his religious beliefs. Okay. On that same night, JVR and Scott Laughton took the time after the game. I think Scott Laughton told me this. I think it was 50 families from Philadelphia that connected to that LGBTQ plus community, and they sat with them and they chatted with them And they just wanted them to know, I hear you, I see you, I understand you. And I think that goes a long way. And so to take that away, just the little thing like the stick tape, it's really disappointing because you want to be able to see the helpers. You want to be able to know who the allies are. And now you have no idea. And I know the league is saying, well, we're not stopping players from having their own initiatives and taking part. And I know you had a couple of good conversations today, Michael Backlund, Jonathan Huberdeau, who both of whom I would say would be considered allies. What I thought was interesting on both of them, though, Julian, both of those Calgary players essentially said to you and to your colleagues, hey, we're allies. We're going to keep looking for ways to be allies, but we're not going to push back on this one. This is a league rule, and we don't want to get in trouble. And I'm a little disappointed in that.
Which is kind of fascinating because this all started because players went against, well, it's not really a rule when it was going on, but they went against the norm. This is what's so fascinating about this. When you look at the sport of hockey, we as media types have long debated over the concept of individuality and the fact that the sport has done so much to repress it in the name of having everyone play for this one uniform. And the specialty jerseys, the Pride Nights, for me, it just always amazed me that those nights, that was the moment when some players were going to step up and say, hey, I'm my own person and I believe in these things and I'm going to go away from that. So while I see the initial reactions, basically to paraphrase from Backlund Huberdeau, as Ian said, yeah, they're basically going to fall in line with rules. We've seen some reactions out of the Maple Leafs locker room as well. I believe I saw Chris Johnston's tweet about Brad Treliving saying that they'll find ways to support good causes while going around the rules. Rasmus Anderson went one-on-one with my colleague Salim Valji at TSN and said that it sucks, but we still don't really know if there's going to be a player who's going to step out and try to go against this. But if it was so weird for us to think initially that players would go against this to begin with, at this point, I don't think it's far-fetched that somebody, even if it's just one player, somebody is going to put rainbow tape or do some kind of gesture to go against this. I maybe I'm naive to think that way, but I really think that if we've reached this point, and I'm sure that there are guys who feel a way about it and are disappointed about it, I feel as if there's someone out there, someone's going to do something. Like if it gets to a point where I'm wrong, and I'm wrong, but all those players and nothing, like I'd be very surprised about that. If people were willing to go through the trouble of doing it the other way, someone's going to do it the other way.
Yeah, and my money, like I said, I thought Scott Laughton and James Van Riemsdyk came at this from an authentic place, and I really truly think that those are the types of guys that might do that. I'd love to see, Julian, we're going to bring Mark Lazarus in here in a second. I'd love to see James Van Riemsdyk, Scott Laughton, and like 3 other Philly teammates for a game, and maybe one guy has yellow tape, and another guy has red tape, and another guy has blue tape, and like all 5 of them together. That's not against the rules, is it?
It's not against the rule. I mean, in that case, I know JVR's in Boston now. I believe that'd be really unique to see.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. Right? Yeah,
no, but still,
JVR's in Boston.
But it would still be cool to see players, if they feel compelled to do so, stand up and say that in some way that people from all communities are welcome, and that's really what this is all about. And for people who are going to look at us and say, "Oh, this isn't a big deal," well, we flip that on its head too. This shouldn't have been this big of a deal. At the end, and you can even say that the gestures that are being done through tape and the jerseys are some form of performanceship. It's just pandering. Well, not pandering. I don't want to use that word. I'll say that just there's so many other things that leagues and teams can do, and maybe even be on a level of what Van Riemsdyk and Laughton did. But these small gestures, putting tape, that was enough. That should have been enough. And the fact that we're at this point debating it is a shame.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's bring him in, Mark Lazarus. And he is the self-professed, what does he call himself? The soy boy? This sounds like the perfect.
Even
This
named
sounds
his
like the
fantasy
perfect.
hockey team.
Yeah,
I
this
believe
is-
Mark and I are playing against each other. In
I
our
couldn't
fantasy
fit
league.
Beta Cuck Soy Boys, so I just went with
Yeah.
Soy Boys with a Z at the end. Because it
Are
makes
we
it cool.
allowed to say that word?
Beta Cuck?
I guess we
said
are now.
cuck.
Yeah,
We are
Cuck.
now.
There's a U in there.
we
There's a
are
U in
now.
there. There's a U in there, Julian, you dirty-minded.
Yeah,
Hey,
jeez.
hey, I'm not dirty-minded.
Hey.
Don't put that on me, sir. I'm wholesome.
So, hey, Laz, we're
Yeah.
and we're gonna talk all things opening night and get into Bedard and Crosby and all the. fun
Doesn't
stuff.
this suck that on opening day, this
Yeah.
is what we're talking
That's
about? This is
exactly
the-
what I said.
The most
That's exactly
NHL
what I
thing
said.
ever.
That's exactly what I
So,
said.
This
That's exactly
freaking
it.
league, I swear to
It's
God.
crazy. We should be talking about how every photographer, you work for Getty, you work for USA Today, you work for Reuters, you work for any of them outlets, you should be fighting like tooth and nail for that very first face-off between Sidney Crosby and Connor Bedard. We should be talking about that matchup. Sid versus the kid. And we're not at that point. We haven't
Not.
reached that yet.
This is what the NHL does. First of all, wouldn't it be funny if like Mike Sullivan sent out his fourth line to start the game?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
what.
God.
There's no way, right? Like
No.
they have to put Bedard and Crosby.
Of course,
That's got to
they
be a
will. Of
league
course they
rule.
will. Of
Yeah,
course,
that's
they
got
will.
to be a league rule.
Just as long as their tape is black or white.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, but before we get into it,
Colors
because I
are
do think
scary.
I think there's some great storylines to get into on the season. I do, because look, you are one of the most genuine, passionate, articulate people when it comes to social justice issues in and around the National Hockey League. And Julian, I do want to give you one opportunity here before we delve into the on ice stuff, just to weigh in on maybe what was your initial reaction. It was Outsports.com that had it first.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction when you saw these play itself out? What went through your mind?
I was on my flight to Chicago to Pittsburgh here, and I saw it on my phone, and I mean, honestly, I rolled my eyes. Like, I'm not. I've written this before. At some point, you kind of run out of outrage. You run out of you're just never surprised anymore. Like, you expect the worst. This league has taught us to expect the worst from it because it just never seems to come through. It never seems to do the right thing. It never has the backbone. This is caving to like 7 homophobes. That's what this is. The entire NHL has caved to about 7 homophobes in this league, to now to the point where players aren't allowed to express a positive thing to the fan base. That's where we're at. And I heard you guys, I picked up the end of your conversation. God, I just tweeted the same thing. I want a revolt. I want players to go out there and do the damn tape, not even on Pride nights. Just put the damn tape on any night and say, screw you, fine me. I dare you to fine me. And then if they do get fined, they, shame the NHL into donating that fine money towards causes that are, for the LGBTQ plus community. Like the overwhelming majority of the league and the overwhelming majority of Canada and the United States is not homophobic. Like, I honestly believe that. We've reached a point in our society where we're past this shit. We're past this shit. And the NHL thinks it's still 2005 here. Just shame the league, make the league do something. I want to see the Zoomers, like the teenagers, the guys Connor Bedard's age and Kevin Korchinski's age. I want to see them come out and say, no. We played with Luke Prokop. This is ridiculous. Like, we're not going to sit here and abide by these rules. And then I want the teams to pay those fines. I want Danny Wirtz to pay the fine for those kids. That's what I want to see. That's how you affect change, is if the younger generation steps up and says, this is stupid. This is awful, and I'm not going to abide by it. That's what I want to see. We won't see it because this is hockey, but that's what I want to see.
I mean, I still think the fact that we're in this place to begin with, where so many, we expect hockey players to fall in line, and some players stepped out of line. If that could happen, I genuinely believe the opposite could happen. I genuinely think someone is going to do something.
We always talk about how
I don't know.
It's bad in hockey to stand out and do and put yourself out there. Well, 7 people did it. And now
that's literally why we're in this, because some
it.
people felt emboldened to do this and wanted to step out of line. That's literally why this happened. This is the hill they decided to die on.
I hope every fan brings a rainbow flag every single time the Stahl brothers are playing. That's what I hope.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Anyway,
I get that.
yeah, I like I said, it's unfortunate that it's.
I'm sick of this conversation. Aren't you sick of this conversation?
It's sick of
Yeah.
it, but we
It's
can't stop talking
embarrassing
about it.
to be a
right?
hockey fan. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
But we can't gloss over it and just we have to keep talking about it.
Not. But it's
And
embarrassing that we have to keep doing
I know,
this.
I know.
We're going backwards.
Right, you're
It's
right, man.
truly
You're
wild.
absolutely right. We're
It's-
seeing we're seeing all these other leagues be progressive and show interest in fans that are not bald white dudes. And then the league does this.
It's so infuriating. It's just,
Yeah.
and it's just disheartening because we just, we all
Because you
love this
wanna
game
love the
so
league.
much.
That's
we love
why
this
you-
game so much, and the
Yeah.
league makes it so hard to do it.
Yeah.
We want to talk. Here's the thing. I want to talk about positive stories. I want
Yeah.
to talk about cool stuff. I want to talk more about what's good for the league. And as Ian brought up before, when we were just talking amongst ourselves, like I would have loved to have put more of a focus on Scott Lawton and JVR
Yeah.
taking time out of their day to be with members of the LGBTQ community and being inclusive. Those stories should get more oxygen.
And they
Those-
weren't like
any of those
allowed.
players would.
They're not allowed. It's just,
Anyway,
Anyway.
I'm glad we were
Anyway.
able to get Laz to talk about this.
Yeah.
it's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just wind them up. Here he goes.